You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome to Friday's Finest. Glad you're here with us. We have ominous details. There's level 5 warning of sunspots coming. We're going to talk about that today. Dog pandas, didn't know those existed until now. And a lot of other things that we're going to be dealing with. And also, from my perspective, I don't care who the GOAT is, but we're going to talk about that here later. Also, the most closest Kentucky Derby in 150 years of the top three horses, and NASCAR the next day has one of the closest races in NASCAR history. I know my problem with NASCAR is they put those stupid engines in them that won't let anybody go fast. That's the problem with NASCAR. Bring it back to the old days, and I'm sure Chip may agree with me. Bring it back to the old days of North Georgia, North Carolina, render and shine, and just whoever had the best engine won. That's how you do this thing. And if you want to go 240 miles an hour and crash the wall, that's your choice. But anyway, I digress here on Friday's Finest. So we got a lot of other things to talk about, politics and others. James will be with us. Chip is with us. Right after the break, we are on it. We are experiencing instability at every level. Our government lacks leadership, and Bidenomics has been a disaster. The economy is in a fragile state. Inflation has been a consistent issue. High interest rates have put significant pressure on the real estate market, and there have been major bank failures. And many analysts say a stock market correction is likely overdue. We have global conflicts in Europe and the Middle East that have potential to spread, but gold has soared to record highs even among the tensions. There are so many reasons that Americans should consider investments in gold and silver, and Legacy Precious Metals is the gold standard. I love Legacy Precious Metals because of their zero-hassle, education-first approach. They can help you roll your traditional IRA into a gold IRA or ship metals directly to your house. That's what I do. So go to www.legacypminvestments.com to download their free gold investment guide. And look, I've read it. You need to read it. There's so much valuable information in there. So friends, now's the time to not roll the dice with your hard-earned money. Find out about the growth potential that gold and precious metals can offer you. Contact Legacy Precious Metals today and tell them that Doug Collins sent you. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels as the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Their 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. All right. Okay, Chip. I really want to start this segment with you and I, especially on Friday's Finest. Now, I'm going to see at some point, I think I'm going to get James to cue up some of the best soap opera intro music that we can find, because Congress has become a soap opera, and it's sad. And I made the point the other day, Chip, can you imagine when you were there? Because you were there with, I guess you had Speaker. You had, of course, right after Speaker Boehner came, you had, I guess Hassert was there, and then also you had, of course, the Nancy Pelosi episode during some of the times you were there. Could you imagine John Boehner spending 4.5 hours with a couple of folks who had problems with him being Speaker?
You know,
Chip, what the heck?
I'll tell my favorite John Boehner story, and I'm sure Lynn Westmoreland, who was my boss, I was chief of staff for, wouldn't mind me telling the story, and I know he wouldn't mind because I've heard him tell it several times. So, you know, the House Intel Committee is a select committee, as you know, Doug.
Yeah.
And it is not. And what that means is the leader and the speaker get to determine, you know, who and not the steering committee get to determine who serves on that committee.
Yep.
And Lynn wanted to make a run at getting on the committee, and it had a couple open slots, and so he wanted me to set up a call over to the speaker's office and set up some time for him to go in and meet with the speaker and kind of make his case and let his desire for the seat known. And so we went in Boehner's office, and it was Boehner, and I forgot who was staffing him at the time. Probably it was not
Trevor.
It was not his chief of staff at the time. It was somebody who was handling a lot of the committee work. And Boehner sits down. What do you got? And Lynn said, well, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to see if I could talk to you about getting on, one of the two slots on Intel. And Boehner goes, that's not going to happen. What else you got? And Lynn said, that's about it. And Boehner said, he said, 2 years from now, we'll look at you. It's not going to work this time. It was about a 3-minute meeting.
Yeah. But so, you make my point that he said, Mike Johnson spent 4.5 hours, the third in line to the presidency, the Speaker of the House, spent 4.5 hours with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie discussing God knows what. I mean, this has digressed now to where nothing is getting done. The minority is the majority. And and sad part of it is I just, there's things that I wish that Mike had done. There's things that I wish the whole Congress would have done even when I was there. But we're getting to the point now that this is really ridiculous in a sense of, but yet, as I said the other day, and I think we talked about it before we got on, they both won and lost.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, you play to your base, right? And you know that area of North Georgia. You have the district just to the east of the district that she represents. I mean, to an extent, they've changed it quite a bit, and they are coming down now into Cobb County, into Metro Atlanta and Paulding. But the reality is, it's Northwest Georgia, and it's a very conservative area, and you're not going to beat her in a primary. It doesn't matter what she does. It doesn't matter how she conducts herself or what votes she calls for or how she interacts with her colleagues or really what she does for her district. She got a good relationship with President Trump, even though President Trump, it looked like, was very publicly on Mike Johnson's side on this. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't think any less of Marjorie Taylor Greene. But, look, that's how the construct is. And I'll go back to something that Marjorie Taylor Greene said in one of her statements 6 weeks ago. She said, it's just math. And she's right. But, she says it's only math when it seems to benefit her. But, the math didn't benefit her when she called for the vote on the motion to vacate the chair. And then there was a motion to table it. And so the motion to table it ostensibly turned into, a vote on her motion. And, what I don't understand is this, Doug, is that, math works both ways and the majority works both ways. And so, look, I mean, not to go back and to do a postmortem on what happened to Kevin or what happened to Jim Jordan when he became, he never became speaker, but he became, the caucus nominee for speaker, and then didn't get the votes on, the floor. I mean, the whole reason Kevin is no longer speaker is because 8 Republicans voted with 100 or 250 and 212 Democrats.
Yep.
And that was math. And that's, that's the way it works. But it works the other way with Marjorie too. Even Hakeem Jeffries was fed up with her stuff. Now think about that for a second.
Yeah.
We are, we're not showing, we're as Republicans, we're not showing that we're very good at governing. And Hakeem Jeffries throws us a life raft. That's how bad this has gotten, Doug. That's substantial.
Yeah, the sad part about it is too, Chip, is look, and philosophically, and I say this about, bills that, we're not getting anything from, not negotiated. I get that with Marjorie. I'm with her on those kind of things, but you've also got to read the room. And I think that's the problem right now. That the win for Johnson is, yes, he's still speaker. I was on a podcast, Chip, the other day that we were talking about. There was nobody on the podcast, though, that believes he'll be speaker if the Republicans keep the majority, and they definitely don't think he'll be the leader if they lose the majority. You talk about just a terrible position to be in, and with that. And then he lost, of course, because the Democrats, quote, saved him. And Marjorie the same way, and Thomas and Gosar and the rest of them, they got people their vote. They got their vote for social media purposes and for fundraising purposes, but they lost. They lost it in a big way. The problem I'm seeing, Chip, and you've been in there in those halls and you've been in those meetings with leadership and meetings with other members, is I'm seeing it more and more and more. And again, I will not name names ever, but you're just seeing more and more of people who are just beginning to be just completely disassociated, disenfranchised, however you want to put it. They just don't want to be there anymore. And it's just bad.
Oh, look, you served in Congress. It's a different place to serve, right? And over time, in some respects, that's the nature of the beast, right? For generations and generations, different generations have different experiences in the halls of Congress. But it used to be it used to be a noble profession. It used to be a really good place to serve. It used to be a good job. And now, you hear more and more people that just aren't interested in going and doing that. I don't think that serves our party very well. I don't think that serves our country very well. And, it is what it is. I don't know. There's not an easy button to get out of it. Right. It kind of is what it is. And we got to figure out a way to work our way around it. But it's, look, I don't think this is the last time she calls for a motion to vacate the chair. And the question becomes, how many times are the Democrats and Hakeem Jeffries going to do what they did, this week? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know that they know the answer to the question. I don't know that Marjorie Taylor Greene knows the answer to the question on how long or how many times she's going to call because there's nothing that stopped her. There's nothing stopping her, Doug, from calling that motion up every day.
Yeah, she can do it anytime she wants to. And again, now you're getting the calls that you and I sort of laugh about and talk about. They go, let's have retribution and everything. It's never going to happen. Okay, it's just not right now in this. You got a 1-vote majority. This is just the way you look at it. I did say this, though, because some people said, they made a lot of the fact that 11 Republicans voted to not table it. In other words, they were willing to take it up. And I reminded a Democrat, I said, the reason you had 11, in my opinion, on this one is because Democrats saved them. They knew they could, and they had no political retribution for it. There's nothing going to be they're not going to be held accountable for voting for something that never happened.
But it also goes to show, Doug, that while they don't agree with Mike Johnson, I think they feel like Mike Johnson has been honest with them on where he can work with them, and he's been honest with them on where he's going to fight them. And, that was always the knock on Kevin. I don't know whether it was a fair knock or not, but the knock on Kevin was you just couldn't trust him. And I like Kevin McCarthy. I don't know that I feel like you couldn't trust him. You would be better positioned to comment on that, but you don't hear those criticisms of Mike Johnson, right? No. And I think Mike Johnson's a likable guy and a nice person. even if you disagree with him, whether you disagree with him on the right or whether you disagree with him as a Democrat. And I think it speaks volumes to who he is as a human being that the Dems saved him because they knew that the alternative would be a lot worse.
Well, I think they also realize that we are so broken on our side that, 6 weeks last time? I mean, that we basically wasted almost 6 weeks of this, that it could possibly be 8 to 10 weeks this time.
Absolutely.
I mean, because really we're so broken that, I think there's a possibility you could have had, and this, I know this sounds strange. I know it's out there, but I think you could have honestly possibly had the first non-member speaker actually entertained in a situation like that. Because
certainly
they just don't have any, and just to get them through the end of the year, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he goes, speaking of which, though, someone that you and I are both very familiar with decided to, it sort of gets interesting, is how long do you still call them former or call them Republicans? And I use that term with Joe Scarborough a great deal. And now we get to add another CNN personality, Jeff Duncan, to that. Jeff decided that, I guess his contract was coming up. He needed to maybe do a little bit more for CNN there. Has decided he is going to endorse and will vote for Joe Biden. This is a man as lieutenant governor. I mean, I don't even understand how I can understand him saying, I don't like Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. I'm going to vote for myself for president. I don't understand voting for Joe Biden if you are pro-life, if you are, you're not for an open border, if you're not for, giving the glampers in the college campuses free tuition. I mean, Chip, you know him well. I know him. What in God's name is happening here?
Doug, how much time do we have left on this podcast?
What?
How much time do we have left on this podcast?
James, we might not get to Red Pandas today.
I mean, look, and full disclosure, so that everybody knows, I ran his race for lieutenant governor, and I was his chief of staff for a year. And I've been in this business 30 years, and it's the biggest mistake I've ever made. Hands down, there's not a close second. This guy is the biggest narcissist, not only that I've ever worked with, but that I've ever seen in this business. I want y'all to think about that for a second. Think about how many people in this business, Doug, are narcissistic. But Jeff Duncan puts a veil around his narcissistic tendencies and narcissism, and he does. And I was explaining this to somebody yesterday, and keep with me. Jeff always has to be the center of attention, always, but he doesn't want to work to be the center of attention. I've said many times he's the dumbest smart guy I've ever met. Number one. But number two, he endorsed Biden because it was lazy. It was lazy. Now, hear me out when I say that, because he could do the least amount of work and get the most press. And he does have a CNN contract now, and he has an AJC contract now, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, very leftist, progressive newspaper in Atlanta, the daily newspaper in Atlanta. And so, that's his crowd now and his people now. And so they worship him because, we have a Republican that's willing to say something bad about other Republicans and Trump. And so, and then they have him on, and he's just absolute. He's a creature. And I'm convinced he's going to get a primetime speaking slot at their convention. And, he really thinks in his head that whenever Donald Trump leaves stage right, and I mean, none of us know when that's going to be. I don't think it's any closer than 10, 12 years from now. I mean, Donald Trump's 77? Yeah. So, maybe another 10, 12 years. I mean, he thinks this party's going to be back to what it was before Donald Trump decided to enter politics. And whether you like Donald Trump or not, Donald Trump has fundamentally changed the Republican Party. And we're not going back to where we were before Donald Trump. You can't give a play-by-play of where we are right now. I mean, we just talked about what's going on in the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in all likelihood, would not have gotten elected to the United States House of Representatives pre-Donald Trump. Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just different. Whether we like it or not, it's different. But he thinks, you know, whenever Trump goes bye-bye, people are going to say that I was a visionary and I was right. And it's not only is it narcissistic, but it's naive and it's not correct. But I love it. I personally, selfishly, I love what he's doing right now because there's no coming back from this.
No,
You know, you just don't come back from something like that.
No, you're done. And I think this is the part. The one part before we move on, I didn't think about the primetime speaking slot. That would you know, you pretty much hit that one nail on the head. Well, lots going on here in the state of Georgia, nationally, politics. We'll catch up each and every week with Chip on this and a lot more, you know, going forward. But that one just stood out. I will say this though, Chip, real quickly. It's been a good week for the legal system, in my opinion, in the country. Judge Cannon down in Florida is unmasking and unsealing document after document in that documents case down in Florida that's showing the FBI messed up chain of custody, you know, lied about what was in the documents. And Jack Smith is having to do this. And you notice who's not picked up a word of it? No mainstream media has picked up a word of it.
Oh, I mean, no.
And they're not even talking. And here's how I know it's real. They're not even attacking the right. They're not even attacking Trump on it because they know it's so bad that they're not even going to waste time on it as we go forward. And then, of course, the Fonnie Willis case gets picked up. I got a feeling I'm hesitant, but I believe the Court of Appeals in Georgia is going to disqualify her. I really do. And because, I mean, if you allow that kind of action to go on, then you're basically saying prosecutors are untouchable. And what they're doing. So it's going to be interesting there. But anyway, we got lots more to talk about because we're now bringing into the fold, yes, the man, the myth, the legend, the Texan by way of New Jersey. There he is. James is in the house.
Hey, let me just say something. I think, I know you guys don't listen to rap, but I know you're aware of the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef. I think it's got everybody acting up because Chip just went at this Jeff Duncan fella like it was real. Like whatever he said to you while you were working with him must have been serious. All right.
He got I could have gone on and on, James. That was just a small portion of it.
It felt like it. It felt like you had some pent up tension there that you needed to release. Shaquille O'Neal and Shannon Sharp are going at each other today. Austin Rivers and James Jones are going at each other today. The other day, I was at the park and I was listening to one of the Kendrick songs. I almost went down to the playground and crossed up one of the little kids that was on the playground. I was so serious. I was about to shove a kid off a swing set. It was so serious out there.
Okay, how is anybody, the sweet, lovable Shaq, offended today?
Well, okay, you guys know what's going on? Real quick, we can jump on this.
I know.
But
here we go find out.
Hold on, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. So Nikola Jokic won his third MVP this week. Yeah. Shaq, Nikola Jokic went on TNT, and Shaq said to Nikola Jokic's face, for whatever reason, he said, "Hey, congratulations. I thought Shea should have won MVP. I wanted to let you know before you found out later, but that's how I feel. No disrespect to you. You're great. You're the best player in the league." Should have been moved on. I still think it was stupid for him to say should have moved on. Shannon Sharp, one of the clickbait monsters on the internet, along with Stephen A. and everyone on TNT, let's be honest. But I love those shows anyway. They make for good content. Went at Shaq saying he's jealous, blah, blah, blah. Shaq this morning had plenty of time on his plate. This man wrote like 7 paragraphs talking about how Shannon Sharp is clickbait. He knows how he got in the business. If you're not top 10, don't talk to me. It was unbelievable. So anyway, everybody's beefing with everybody. The internet is on fire today. Austin Rivers is getting in fights with NFL players because he said that 30 NBA players could go to play in the NFL, which neither sport can do either. I don't care what anyone says. They're too difficult. One requires you to be a mental psychopath and go play football. And the other one requires way too much skill for any big man to go play. Anyway, I'm done. I'll move on. Just want to get that in there to start the day.
Welcome to the show, James. Glad to have you.
Got me all riled up this morning, Chip.
Yeah, Might as well while we're taking a step in here. I think she's been good for what she's been doing, Caitlin Clark and everything. But I was watching SportsCenter this morning, and the Caitlin Clark apologist for only scoring 12 points, and it's like, okay, guys, just let her play ball.
It's out of hand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just.
We knew it was coming, though. We knew it was coming.
This is the way the internet treated. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but who is the all-world MVP or in the WNBA who basically said when she gets to the NBA, she's got to learn. And when you listen to what she actually said, she said she's going to have to learn how to adjust at this level. She's dadgum right, but yet everybody crucified her for it.
She's not wrong, but Diana Taurasi went about it the wrong way. They keep calling first of all, this one is a little jealousy, and I don't blame Diana Taurasi. She has been the face of a league that hasn't really been popular for years. And so now all of a sudden you could equate her greatness to Caitlin's when she was coming out, if you really remember that time. It's just people didn't care and the internet wasn't as exciting. So I don't blame Diana Taurasi for being like, I've been doing this for like 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get the frustration. But Caitlin Clark is new. She's shiny. She's famous. And there's a bunch of people with her, Angel Reese and Cameron Brink. There are people that are coming with her that make things exciting. So people are into it. Just let it happen. And also, SportsCenter has to stop pushing the same people for 25 straight weeks. It's going to make – this is why nobody watches SportsCenter anymore. We're listening to nonsense like that.
One of the gushing continued. I'm just so glad that we're talking about the WNBA preseason on SportsCenter. It's like, okay, give me a break.
Yeah, we're talking about it because this woman is a angel brought. If you are in the WNBA, they just expanded to a team in Toronto.
Wow.
Caitlin Clark is directly responsible for that. They're doing charter flights now. Charter flights that they couldn't even afford to get people breakfast, and now they're doing charter flights for the WNBA.
Well, Caitlin actually said the other day she was going to have to get used to flying in commercial again. I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing at Iowa? I want to know about.
Yeah, she's paying for all that. She probably paid for everyone's flight in Iowa.
Yeah, Chip, what do you think? Is Auburn, Bruce Pearl and them, they got those Auburn Jets in the air right
now? No. The short answer is no. But yeah, look, I mean, is this really any surprise that the old guard in the WNBA, and let's face it, I mean, the WNBA, who has been very, very outspoken about their politics, about their leftist agenda. I mean, they had Vote Warnock. The Atlanta Dream had Vote Warnock shirts on. 2 months before the election. I mean, during all that, and now all of a sudden you've got a lady, a white Midwestern basketball player coming out of Iowa, who's going to take the WNBA by storm, and the old guard are like, no. So she has one game. I mean, I remember Victor Wembanyama when he played in the summer league after he got
drafted. It was crazy. It was nuts.
Crazy. It was insane.
It was fun though.
It was fun, but he only played 2 games.
Didn't he fight Britney Spears or something? Didn't Britney Spears attack him or something like what happened?
Somebody did, but they shut him down after 2 games because it was completely out of control.
Yeah, they had to hide him. And by the way, for the record, guys, get used to saying his name correctly, Victor Wembanyama, because he's going to be the greatest player on the planet. That's a fact.
Dude.
Well, yeah. How did he do this year? I heard he won Rookie of the Year, but how did he do?
He should have won Defensive Player of the Year. He started out the season a little rocky because rocky's the wrong word. He's a rookie. But what happened was something clicked. I don't know if it was Popovich yelling at the point guards to give this giant man the basketball, but whatever it was, he's hitting step back threes. He's in the paint. People aren't taking layups because he's down there. Not blocking shots. They're just not taking the shots around him. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So prepare yourselves to be saying his name for the next 20 years because he's not going anywhere unless he gets hurt.
Okay, well, this leads into my next discussion, and I got since we're harping on SportsCenter and other these other talk shows, is this idea of who's the greatest, the GOAT arguments, and it's you hear it all the time. And I'm just going to basically say I don't care. How can you compare Michael Jordan And it always seems to come up more in basketball than it does anywhere else.
It's always basketball.
It's always basketball. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, But again, what gets left out for me is, and this was actually brought up yesterday in one of the talk shows. I can't remember if Stephen A. or whoever, but he actually brought up. He said, "Well, what do you think? I mean, why are we only looking at LeBron, Kobe? If you're gonna put Kobe in there, Michael Jordan, but you leave off Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you leave off Bill Russell, you leave off Magic Johnson, you leave off Larry Bird. I mean, what is the purpose of this besides that they've got nothing to do except for 30 minutes on a radio talk show?"
Chip, you want to take this one first?
Well, I mean, it's worse than that, Doug. I mean, you got ESPN and ESPN2, and they got to fill 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, full of content. And so, if they don't include these discussions on who's the greatest of all time, how are they going to fill 24 hours?
Maybe we can get to see Australian rules football again.
Yes, I'm actually okay with that. Go nuts. You know what's crazy? What really bothers me about this, and I just don't understand why every time we have this conversation, it's so pointless. You guys know who Mad Dog is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Russo.
Mad Dog is in love with everything from 1960 to 1985. Everything after that is almost like, I can't believe that they exist and they're a person. But you know why? Because that was his formative years of loving something, right? Yeah. Like my formative years are Kobe Bryant. I didn't get to watch Mike, but I know Mike. Personally, I think Mike's greatest, but that's not important. The point is that I got to watch Kobe and LeBron. I got to watch all these guys grow up in front of my eyes, and it was incredible. But it doesn't matter because if without the people prior to them, they don't exist. That's just the way these go. They were talking about Bob Cousy being a plumber. Yes, I'm sure if he played today, I would send his shot into the stands. 100%. Okay? The point is, though, that he was doing things that blew people's mind in 1955. That's the point. So it was different then. It's always going to be different. Athletes are going to get stronger and better. Medicine makes them – whatever we're doing right now, these athletes are in another stratosphere compared to anything you've ever seen in your lifetime. It's not even – they're not even in the same – like Victor Wembanyama is a great example. He shouldn't exist. He's 7'5". He can shoot from anywhere. He can dribble. He can move. He's lengthy. He can do everything. And then you have guys that are like 5'10" that can jump out of the gym. It doesn't matter what they did prior. What they did in their era counts for their era, and that's it. And just move on. But we can't have that conversation because if they do, then Stephen A. won't have a job. So we have to.
Is that such a bad thing?
Well, for ESPN it would be because he's the only thing they got left.
I mean, the only reason I watch Stephen A. anymore is the Dallas Cowboys stuff. So,
but it's not even. I'm not even mad at Stephen A. I'm mad at ESPN.
Yeah,
Stephen A. is doing his job. They said, Stephen A., we want to put you on 24/7. He goes, yeah, sure, I'll make that money. I don't blame him for that. They did it with Shannon Sharp and everything else too. Make all your money. Do whatever you can to be in the spotlight. But it's okay. A good example is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was the darling of America for like 2 years. Everybody loved Kevin Hart. And then we were like, if I see one more Kevin Hart video, I'm never going to support that man again. It had nothing to do with him. It's that you get oversaturated. You keep pushing the same thing over and over again. It's going to happen to Caitlin Clark. Somebody's going to make us hate her. Who I don't know if it's ESPN or whoever. Somebody's going to make us try to hate her because that's the point. They force it down your throat until you're like, if I see another video, I'm going to quit and never do. I'm going to go live in the middle of nowhere and never see a video again. That's how they do it. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, speaking of Kevin Hart, let's digest off this a little bit. He came back in a big way this week with the Tom Brady roast.
That was a crazy choice.
Now the world is saying that, you would think, listening to some of the comments, that, the world is back. Comedy is back. The music stuff's back. That we're finally through with this political. And folks, I will just look. I'm gonna warn you. If you go to Netflix and you watch this Tom Brady roast, it is not PG. It is not even R. This is NC-18. But also in some of the scenes was cutting hilarious. In some of the stuff that was. There was one about when what was her Nikki Glazer was making fun of Gronk. I knew that not real money. I mean, people were dying over Bitcoin.
Went after everybody. I think the roasts are kind of cringy sometimes.
Yeah.
This was not. I really think they're always like the Comedy Central ones get really cringy. This was not that at all. Except when Kim Kardashian went up and the crowd booed her, which, by the way, Netflix has edited and she's no longer being booed. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. Netflix edited it. But yeah, that was a. Why did Tom Brady do that? Somebody said he
paid a lot of money.
Somebody said he basically got to make fun of his wife for a while, and that's the whole point of it, which made me laugh. But his ex-wife. But yeah, it was hilarious. All the joke. I didn't watch it because I didn't watch the whole thing. I got the clips from everybody. But kudos to Netflix for saying we don't. They said we don't care about Dave Chappelle doing what he's doing. We're going to let every comedian that is literally yelled at 24/7 on the internet come on here and do their thing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Chip, I mean, it goes back. I mean, you and I are a little bit older. We go back to the old roast that they used to do in Hollywood. They had to keep them fairly clean, but it was the underlying innuendo that always made the stuff funny. The Dean Martin roast, all those that they would do with it was Rodney Dangerfield. Anyway, it's pretty good. This one, I mean, some of the folks, I didn't know who they were. They were doing this, but some of them, I mean, it was like, wow, that was some spot on
Tony Hinchcliffe went off on those people.
Oh, Hinchcliffe killed it.
And I totally missed it. I mean, I totally missed it when it was live. I was just looking through Twitter going, holy cow, there's really something going on with Tom Brady. And then, to actually watch the roast essentially on Twitter, I like to do that, Doug, now with the State of the Union address and with debates. Because I don't watch it. I just watch Twitter go nuts, and get an idea on what's going to be news coming out of it. But yeah, kudos to Netflix, man. That was really cool. I haven't watched the entirety of it, but I went back and watched pieces of it, and wow. I mean, you're right, Doug. It is. It wasn't what I expected. Right? It wasn't your traditional roast. It was a little bit different.
Yeah, it was again, and again, I'm not one, and Chip, you've known me for a long time, and I'm not a profanity guy. I mean, I'm like everybody. I'll have a few slip out, but I'm not especially, but we have come so far in our country right now to where everything is offensive that that was offensive, and to see some of this stuff coming back out and saying, look, you do you, boo, kind of thing. Just do this. And if you don't want to watch it, I tell you who I've gotten into, and that's why I love Friday's Finest so much. Have y'all ever heard of, and I know this sounds like a boomer talking here, so that's my boys would say, Matt Rife?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Chip, have you ever seen this guy?
I haven't.
Okay.
He's gorgeous. It's the only way to describe this guy. He's the most handsome man I've ever seen.
Good-looking dude. He does a comedy show, but nothing of the comedy show actually makes it to like his social media. It's always his interactions with the audience. And I mean, if you've not, look him up on like Instagram, Chip, and today you will be dying. I mean, some of his just riffs are.
They tried to cancel him too.
They did, but he is. I mean, it's just like you have some. You've known these guys, Chip, from college days, fraternity days. They can just say stuff right off the top of their tongue. I mean, they can. They take. He does such an improv, so good. But it's good to see this comedy, in my mind, coming back. In a sense that we're not scared to offend everybody anymore. And that's the problem. I think that's the problem in Congress. I think it's the problem in everywhere. We're too scared to offend anybody anymore.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
love what was it? What's the English dude?
I mean, everything's offensive nowadays. I mean, if you can't, nobody has that sense of humor like they did, in the old days. It's political correctness gone amok.
Well, can I ask you guys a question real quick? Because this is a South versus East Coast thing that I've noticed. I don't know if I've ever brought it up on this show, but for where we're from in Jersey. Talking to your friends, if you're not ripping on each other or making fun of each other, you don't trust each other. And I found that since I've been in Texas, that people don't really like that. and I have not made as many friends as I should have. Because like if I enjoy your company and want to talk to you, right? Like Doug, you have no problem texting me and like joking about like the Mets are terrible. This happened. No, because that's our way of being like, yeah, we're friends, like we're close. We can talk about stuff. I mean, please, we talk about everything, and like I feel like I've learned that like here it's so different that like if you offend somebody a little bit, they're going to be like, yeah, I don't think I want to be friends with you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's the point. We are friends. That's why I made fun of you. It's like, I don't know how it is though. Maybe it's a generational thing, but I know on the East Coast, that's how we all communicate. I met one guy from Boston and Texas. The first thing we said to each other is you're a loser. Like we made fun of each other within 20 minutes of meeting each other because that's how you interact with people over there.
Well, you're now, I think, Chip, I think he's hitting the generational issue here.
It could be.
More. Yeah, because my generation, I mean, I got friends that we have a text chain going on, and I mean, we rip people all the time. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like, believe me, this is one text chain that, it's like, I really don't really care if anybody ever else sees this text chain. There better be a daggum good warrant out for this text chain. That's all.
Yeah. You're not letting, your family's not allowed to see that text chain.
Yeah, no, like I said, because it's just one of those things you just sort of, bump off each other. Like, you're a freaking idiot. This kind of thing. But generationally, I've noticed, like with my boys a little bit, they do it, but it's got to be a much tighter knit group. It's not what it used to be. If you're fraternity brothers or stuff like that, then it's more acceptable. But used to, it's sort of everybody could. Well, like one of the things that's easy in Congress, it's easy when you go talk, especially here in the Deep South. Okay, the SEC country. The first thing you're going to rip on with somebody is their college. Okay. I mean, and we do in my generation, somebody will say, well, I'm from Tech or I'm from Florida. I went to the University of Florida. We do it with Chan. I mean, we talk about it with Chan, but I mean, I say, or for me, I always use sort of the joke and with people, they talk about Gainesville. They say, I'm from Gainesville, Georgia. They say, I thought that was Gainesville, Florida. I said, no, that's where dog food's made. And they get the Florida Georgia kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And but I mean that's where it comes a lot. But it's I think our generation, the one thing that is the truest on the internet right now is the videos about Gen X.
Yeah.
We have been. I mean, we are the most resilient generation because. What was it? Most of us, by the time we were 6, were cooking. I mean, by the time we were 8, we knew we were outside. I mean, it was just, we had the 4 maths before we had different math programs. That was the 60s, 70s, and 80s kids are just different in that regard.
I mean, I know my mom's going to kill me for saying this, but hopefully she won't listen. But yesterday she was on her walk. She called me up, and I hear her in her walk. She starts to panic. She goes, "What is that? What is that?" And I'm like, what? Talk to me. What's going on? And she looks up and she says, there's a bear on someone's roof. And I said, no, there isn't. Like, I'm on the phone with her. She's like, I swear to God, there's either a dog or a bear on the roof. I'm like, just send me a picture. All right. And she's like, I got to get out of here. I'm like, you don't have to go anywhere. Stop walking. There isn't a bear on someone's roof. She takes the picture and sends it to me. And it is a fake bear hugging the roof. Like it's not real. It's like made of like rock or something, right? So she sent this, and immediately the first thing I did was send it to our entire family. And I said, let's make fun of her until we all go to Italy. So every day from now until Italy, someone is taking a shift telling her to make sure to watch out for bears while she's on the road. That is the kind of thing we do in our family.
Yeah,
and she texted me yesterday and she goes, you're very funny, but you're also dead. Like
you're dead.
She's like, your days are numbered. Like, but that's the point is like, that's how we joke in our, like we joke about it. And everyone literally said, we're going to take a shift texting your mom. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. My mom, we years ago, God, 20 years, it's been a while. I mean, a long while ago, 20, 30 years ago, we had a Pomeranian, one of the, little fluffy dogs my mom and dad did at the house. And Muffin was her name. Anyway, it was, and we're getting ready to go to the beach, and we were taking the dog and Dally to the beach or something like that. And we went over to the pet store. My mom God rest her soul. She was there, and they asked her, "Are you going to the beach?" And the salesperson said, "Ooh, you got to be careful down at the beach. We might need to get some of these flea stuff because the beach, the sand fleas, they're the worst kind." And just laying this on thick. My brother and I are sitting over there like, Mom is getting ready to buy this $20 flea ointment in the 80s. And so for the rest of her life, I kid you not, there were times when we go, we would say something about fleas and we'd say, "Ooh, Sandley, they're the worst kind." And my mom, the older she gets, she just say,
you never let it go.
No, God, no.
By the way, speaking of Pomeranians, you wanted to bring up something about a zoo in China?
Yeah, there's a zoo in China. Now, this is amazing because this is bringing us back to our roots of the Friday's Finest show, which actually started on us discussing monkeys and animals that got out of the
Dallas Zoo being stolen.
We had there, James? We had the
somebody stole
peacock.
We had the peacock.
They had the peacock in the Bronx Zoo and everything going nuts. But Chip, here we go. For all we've dropped the bore about the loss of pandas here in the United States, and under Joe Biden's watch, we've lost everything, including the pandas. But now China has painted dogs.
They
were passing them off as pandas at the zoo.
Oh, not only did they paint them, they did a great job at painting.
They did.
They are chow chows, but when they're not moving, they look like baby pandas. I saw it on the Today Show this morning on NBC, and they did a teaser before they went to break. And I looked at my wife, and I was like, well, what did they just say? And they showed pictures of they're cute as can be, and they're literally chow chow puppies, and they painted them to look like pandas, and they look just like baby pandas until they start walking and have all the mannerisms of a dog. Well, hey, kudos to whoever had that idea at the Hong Kong Zoo because it was brilliant.
That is absolutely that's what restricting Google from your country does. Yeah. Is they were hoping a couple people haven't seen pandas before. So they're like, they're not out in the wild. They don't have Google. They don't have books. Let's make sure that we can get away with this. I think they also said, hold on, I'm trying to read this. 2 panda dogs in a new exhibit are actually chow chows dyed black and white.
Oh, yeah, no. They
didn't even try. They were like panda dogs.
Zoo officials, I'm reading from the AP article. This is not the Onion. Zoo officials told Chinese state media that they were chow chows, a fluffy dog breed originally from northern China, painted black and white to resemble giant pandas, adding that they clearly had advertised on them as, quote, panda dogs, and the zoo did not make any false claims. Now, this is from Chinese state media, so take it for what it is.
Oh, my God. Whose dogs are they? They didn't just get 2 dogs. Somebody owns those dogs.
Yeah, that reminds me of the story that the old boy told one day. He said he went outside and there was a next door neighbor had one of those, those big poodles, the standard size poodles, and that when they get shaved, they got all cut up. And the little boy went outside and he saw the poodle next door, and he looked like a lion. He came running back into his mom and said, Mama, there's a lion out there. There's a lion out there. It's maybe your mom there, James. But, we're coming back out. There's a lion out in the front yard. And his mama said, you're not supposed to be lying. He said, I'm not lying. She said, go back out there and look at it and come back in and tell me. He said, went back out there. He said, Mama, it's a lion in the front yard. She said, I've told you about lying. We got to stop this lying. So she gives him a whipping, sends him up to his room. And she says, I want you to go to your room and I want you to pray to God about lying. And then when you think you're okay, you come back down and tell me. So the kid was upset. He goes to his room. He prays. He comes about an hour later. The mom goes up to the room. The mom looks in the room and says, okay, have you talked to God about your issue of lying? And the little boy said, yes, ma'am, I have. And he said, the mom said, well, what do you think God thinks about your lying? And he said, well, the first time he told me, the first time he looked at that dog, he thought it was a lion too. But now we have panda dogs in China. But Chip, you and I found out something here just a little bit ago that undoubtedly it's not the dolphins in the porpoises, however you want to call them, in the oceans that are the smartest. It's not the whales. It's not even the killer orcas. It is, according to James, it is the octopus.
Not according to me. According to Paul Rudd, who tells us during this documentary. If you haven't watched it.
Hey, James, you do realize Paul Rudd is reading that, right?
No, Paul Rudd actually understands all this stuff. I'm certain of it. So, first of all, there are two things you got to know about this documentary. First and foremost, if you like crabs, not to eat, but like if you think they're a cool animal, don't watch this. They get murdered constantly in this documentary. Second, I'm serious. Me and my brother were sitting there. Okay. Like, this is if you're a crab, this is the worst documentary in the world. Secondly, they are aliens. They understand everything. It's a 3-part documentary. They use tools. They communicate with people. They trust people, apparently. They can change every color known to man, and it's incredible. They can kill. If they could get on land, we'd all be dead, is my point. But they can't. They're in the ocean. They can't hurt us unless we go down there.
Yeah, that's that little problem with evolution there, Darwin.
Listen, no, don't worry about this. No, let's not even get into that conversation.
Yeah, one generation is not going to grow lungs. There's a problem there.
The thing that's really fascinating. They had like 2 people. They had like an expert who was literally she's a scientist, and then they had some person. They were like, we can't credit her as a scientist because she just in her free time goes and visits. You're like, why are you in this documentary? She's not even a scientist. It didn't matter. She was incredible. She
probably paid for it.
She was also insane. Like, I think she loved the octopus a little too much. But anyway, point is, if you get the opportunity, watch it. It's on Disney Plus. I don't know what else it's on. It's only 3 parts. It's 40 minutes apiece. You will never look at octopus the same way.
And we were just complaining about ESPN having to talk about the goats on 24-hour news cycles.
Let's talk about the goats of the ocean. The octopus is number 1. Everything else goes down now. Everything else.
Chip,
it's like the shark. It's like the Billy Bice is a fisherman in the St. Simons area, Doug. And if you go on TripAdvisor and you go down to the St. Simons Jekyll Island area of Georgia, you'll see that he's the number 1 fisherman there. He's a kids fisherman, but now that our kids have grown up, we still love going fishing with them. And in the summertime, the sharks are biting down there. And you can catch some big sharks. And he always. He's been doing it for 20 years, 15 years, kind of been retired 15 years, getting up in age now, but loves fishing. And ever since these sharks come in, they're big, right? I mean, sometimes they're tough to reel in. He says, I've never been bitten by a shark. I said, Billy, how can that be? You got him. He said, well, I've got an agreement with them. And I don't eat them and they don't eat me. And for 15 years, they've held up to their end of the bargain, and so have I. And so, I'm going to have the same agreement next time I see an octopus.
They'll kill you and they'll take you with them. Don't trust them. They're aliens.
Well, considering now, Chip, that James has determined that octopus are alien, and by the way, more than one octopus is octopi. So
no. Turns out it's octopuses, according to Paul Rudd.
Okay,
those are the rules now. Whether we've changed it or not, those are the rules. They said it.
Yeah, now you're just into James Bond movies, but okay. We're going backwards here. But a couple of quick things to sort of wrap ourselves up today. But one of them goes into this alien terminology. Did y'all catch that we're under a Class 4 solar thermal warning for this weekend? Starting late Friday. This is actually an article, actually a thing. Hang on a second. Pulling it up here.
Do I have to wear sunscreen? Is that what they're telling me?
No, it's severe solar storm threatens power grids and navigation systems. It says storms to trigger blackouts, disrupt navigation systems, and knock out high-frequency radios around the world. This is a G4 geomagnetic storm watch, the second highest on a 5-step scale, as multiple waves of solar energy bear down on the planet. It's going to start late Friday, persist through Sunday. The last time we were hit by a G5, the biggest, was October of 2003, causing power outages in Sweden and damaging transformers in South Africa. I love how they say this. The storm's true power will be known about 60 to 90 minutes before it hits Earth as satellites measure the burst of inbound energy. Large parts of Asia, Europe, North America will be able to see an aurora, often called the Northern Lights, overnight where the skies are dark and clear enough. They're going to actually, and here's an interesting one. They're actually rerouting, likely to reroute transpolar flights between Europe, Asia, and North America because of this.
I've seen this movie. It stars Gerard Butler. This does not end well for us. I've seen this movie. All right. You better make sure you got all your medication. The government's going to take everything you got. Make sure you got your medication, some food, get in a bunker. Come out a couple months later, you might end up in a geostorm and you might die. So I've seen this movie. Find Gerard Butler and you should be safe. Seriously, it's a good movie. It's on HBO. You should watch it.
Okay, I guess that came from the Alien Octopus movie here, but okay, we'll get this. So just everybody get your tinfoil hats out for the weekend. This is probably actually a good time for them, it looks like.
This is just big sunscreen trying to get people to wear. It's a geostorm, whatever it means. They said something about sunspots. No. Don't listen to them.
That is it. That is it. Well, we got to finish up on the and Chip and y'all did a great job last week breaking up the Kentucky Derby. For you horse enthusiasts out there, Chip, I have to tell you, James sort of summed up y'all's discussion into the Kentucky Derby last week. Like, I had a master's degree in horses. I didn't even know this existed. I got lost.
It was the most compelling thing I've ever heard. No one's ever talked about horses the way you two do.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
All right. My question, okay, for all who know, the Kentucky Derby came down to the closest finish between three horses. There's still supposedly controversy now about one bumped into the other kind of thing. But my question is, in this, Chip, in just a brief discussion of this, is what happened to the favorite? Did it get what happened in the other races? Did it just decide not to show up? And
Yeah, so Fierceness was the favorite, and Fierceness finished 15th. And, Fierceness is one of those horses where if Fierceness fires, he's going to win by 8 to 10 lengths. If Fierceness doesn't fire, he's going to be back in the middle of the pack or the back of the pack. And, this is racing amongst animals. And you just never know when a horse doesn't want to run today. And, Fierceness had a good break. This is Fierceness had run 5 times before the Derby and won 3 of the races. The 3 races that he'd won going away. But the 2 races he didn't win, he kind of acted up in the gate. Well, now all of a sudden, Fierceness has a 6th race under his belt. He didn't act up into the gate. He got a good break. He doesn't like spray, and spray is the dirt that comes into the horse's face when horses ahead of them are running on the track. And so Fierceness got a good break. He behaved well in the gate. He didn't get any spray. He just ran out of gas about at about the 3/4 mile pole. And he's just like, I'm not racing anymore.
I'm a horse. I do what I want.
I'm not racing anymore. And so, what can you do if the horse doesn't want to run? Horse isn't going to run. And so, by the time they made it into the, they made the final turn into the stretch, Fierceness decided, I'm done running fast today.
I'm done. I ran until I wanted to, and then I stopped.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Okay, well, legit. Okay, what was the name of the one that won it?
Mystic Dan won.
Is Mystic Dan got a chance at the Triple Crown?
No, because look, it's there's a reason the Triple Crown has very rarely happened, and that is horses really need 4 weeks between races. Even at this age, you can run a horse on a 2 weeks rest, but very rarely does it go well. And the problem is, we won 3 Triple Crown races in 5 weeks. So there's a Kentucky Derby. 2 weeks later, there's the Preakness Stakes. And 3 weeks later, there's the Belmont Stakes. And so, look, it looks like there's only going to be 1 horse from the Kentucky Derby entered into the Preakness, maybe 2. And, Kenny McPeak, who's the trainer of Mystic Dan, doesn't even want to run the horse in the Preakness. Doesn't even want to try for the Triple Crown.
But do they get an automatic bid if they win the Kentucky Derby? Is that
absolutely, absolutely? Okay. You win the Kentucky Derby, you get
Tiger Woods always at the Masters.
You get into any race you want. You know, they'd love to have you, but it's a 2-week rest, so no, Mystic Den's not going to win in all likelihood. Ironically, I've got a piece of a horse by the name of Seize the Gray who ran in the Pat Day Mile the day of the Kentucky Derby and won the race. And Dwayne Lucas, who's the
how much did you
there,
make?
is
Tell us
looking
how much
to put
you won.
Yeah, is looking to put that horse in the Preakness, which I don't necessarily agree with because it is only 2 weeks rest. But people don't realize that horses can only run as Triple Crown runners when they're 3 years old. You can't run when you're 2. You can't run when you're 4, 5, or 6. You can only run 3. So you're only eligible to run the race once. And so I think he's looking at giving the owners an experience, which is great. But I don't expect big things from.
Why does that rule exist? What's with the 3-year-old rule?
It's always been that way. It's the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness Stakes, and the Belmont Stakes are since the beginning of time have always been a race for 3-year-olds, and it's largely because a variety of factors we don't have time to get into, but horses generally peak in their racing age, kind of midway through their 3-year-old, right? That's when they're the fastest.
That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
So if your horse, this horse that won the mile run, the Pat Mile, if that horse was to place 1, 2, or 3, if he won, of course, that would definitely, but it placed at the Preakness, his stud value just shot up immensely.
Oh, completely. And ultimately, at this point in time, the horse really needs to win 2 big graded, what we call graded stakes races. And so the Pat Day Mile was one. And so, look, I don't anticipate that Seize the Gray is going to win the Preakness Stakes, but there's going to be 2 or 3 very large graded stakes races in Saratoga later in the year. And then there's the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year at Del Mar in San Diego. And if Seize the Gray can win one of those 2 races, then Seize the Gray immediately retires and breeds for the next 15 to 18 years.
To be a horse that wins the big races, oh my God. We should all be so lucky. You have no worries after that.
They are lucky. They live a really good life for the remainder of their life.
Unbelievable. And here I am working on a Friday.
You got to love it. All right. Well, we got a lot going on. It has been we've hit pretty much the realm of everything on the Friday's Finest show today. A lot going on coming up. But let's go around and get one last takeaway from everybody. Chip, we'll start with you. Takeaway.
Oh, wow. I just hope Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't have another motion to vacate the chair this week, and we have to go through what we went through last week. But look, it gives us fodder and it gives us material for Friday's Finest, and so we'll see if she takes a week off in those endeavors.
There we go, James.
Just 2 quick things. First of all, if you're not watching the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs, they're super exciting right now. Number 2, we didn't get to mention this, and Doug, I'm just going to take a jab at you. The Raiders apparently flipped a coin for their draft pick, and that's the most Raiders thing I've ever heard. It's hilarious. Enjoy Brock Bowers. Was it Brock Bowers? Yeah, Brock Bowers with no one to throw on the ball. Congratulations.
Pretty daggum good, flip of the coin to get Brock Bowers, I'll have to say. But also when you have the Atlanta Falcons, which leads into my last take of the day, when you have the Atlanta Falcons screw up the entire draft, that sort of leads you to a flip coin toss with the Raiders. But I have now figured out, Chip, you'll appreciate this. I think you've probably seen it. James, you may not have, but I'm going to announce it here on the Friday's Finest. I now understand it has become crystal clear to me the Atlanta's draft problem, not just this year, but even years past, but especially this year. I have now confirmed. I have now understand it. I'm not trying to scratch my head and wonder why we're doing the stupid things that we do, because now it came out this week that Arthur Blank is going to have a fundraiser for Joe Biden when Joe Biden comes down and speaks at Morehouse. I rest my case. There's your problem right there.
I didn't know Joe Biden was a big Home Depot guy.
Yeah, me either, but I guess they got to have Bernie on one side and Arthur on the other. But Chip, doesn't it give you some insight into the draft now?
Of course, absolutely. I just want that photo of Biden getting off Air Force One when he comes to Atlanta for that event, and at the bottom of the stairs is Raphael Warnock, Lucy McBath, Arthur Blank, and Jeff Duncan greeting him.
and Michael Penix Jr.
One last Jeff Duncan stab. That's the way to have it here. Folks, that's Friday's Finest here on the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad to have you with us. Just go to the Doug Collins Podcast, subscribe on that button, whatever platform you get it on, or if you need to send us an email to tell us how good we were today or how bad we were, or you just really didn't care, hit the email button, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Till then, James, Chip, we're out of here.